Where are you going?
Well, as soon as you open the meeting,
Okay.
I guess they already did, huh?
Okay, I didn't see these
Okay.
minutes.
I'd like to open the meeting of the Littleton Board of Health, July 14th, 2015. First order of business is administrative matters, and I'd like not to keep the folks from the Harwood Ave composting area any longer than possible. Are other folks coming? Should we wait, or do you know?
I don't know.
All right, so why don't we go through some of the other business? I don't want to keep you longer than you have to, but on the other hand, I don't want to start too early and miss having some folks be able to participate. Actually, if everybody could move back to the visitor section, that would be good. If you guys could sign in. So we'll start with Harwood Ave, the composting operation notwithstanding, we'll start with board member reports. Bill's going to be delayed. He's with the FinCom meeting. Do we have any reports?
We had our meeting and our dinner on the 18th of June. I realized I was missing at the last meeting, so this is a month due. And it went very well, and we have some new members, and it looks like we're going to meet again on the 23rd as an actual meeting, not a training, not an info session, as an actual meeting to figure out who exactly is going to be on the executive committee. We have people who have had interest in it, so it went really well.
Okay, great. You seem to know what happened over with the complaint over by Spec Pond. There was an odor there.
Yes.
You want to fill us in on that?
Yes, I don't have the notes in front of me for the location, but several people have been complaining about what happened on Spec Pond. What happened was a plant across the lake in Air had dumped dairy product into their septic system. And you don't do that. 2,500 gallons of dairy waste went into their septic system. So that overloaded it and caused a horrible stench for at least a week. That apparently has been abated, and
They're probably going to need a new septic system.
they're probably going to need a new septic system. But at least,
Wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, wastewater, so it's not septic.
yeah, so
Okay,
it was
that's
a wastewater
different.
treatment
Okay.
plant. But at any rate, they overloaded it, and now apparently it's back to normal, so.
Okay. Any other reports? Bill's going to be late. Gino, anything?
No, I just went by before I came here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after. We do have a couple sets of minutes. The June 9th, 2015, and the June 23rd, 2015. So I don't know if folks want to take a minute to review them.
Yes, please.
When you're ready, I'll take motions to approve or with changes if necessary. Not sure the minutes capture the full drama of the Taylor Street meeting.
And they were talking about the $34,000 they selected last night.
On the 28th when you all met, or the 29th when you all met, did you pass out minutes to Mays? Because I didn't get a packet for that meeting that I missed.
Still one set that I'm behind on.
Oh, okay, all right, just wondering. I'm good.
Motion to accept the meeting of June 9th and June 23rd.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I can say for the 9th, the 23rd, I wasn't here.
Okay, well, let's do for the 9th first. All in favor? Aye, and unanimous. And on the 23rd, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you're abstaining?
And I'm abstaining, yep.
Okay, so we're all set there. One other piece of business, we did talk about Taylor Street last time, actually two pieces. I did stop and talk to Bill, since we're gonna be going to town meeting, potentially asking for money to cover the cost of tearing that building down. I asked Bill to get 3 estimates to make sure that we went for enough money when we went to town meeting.
Is that what he's doing downstairs?
I don't know if that's what he's doing downstairs or not.
Yeah, he might have an update on
I know the FinCom had some questions on that.
Okay.
The other thing, and this may be an agenda item for the next meeting, we've received a letter from Town Council on 11 Taylor Street. We're followed proper procedure for the demolition of the building, but as far as the outside nuisance, we're going to need an order, which I think we can work on for the next meeting, and probably make that an agenda item. And he lays it out pretty carefully what we need there. So with that said, I think we've given folks time to get here. Let's talk about the Harwood Ave situation. So,
This just came in from Jim regarding Harwood Ave.
okay.
Oh,
So I'll read that. Shelley, after the complaints we had yesterday, Nan's concerned that the boarding berm was disturbed. I visited the site and met Mr. Howland. It smelled like leaves on the site today, and it looked like they may have disturbed some of the bordering berm, though the disturbed area is not emanating a smell. Most of the berm was undisturbed, though they seem to be adding to its height. I again had the conversation about the berm with Mr. Howland, explaining it must be remain undisturbed. There is vegetation growing in the berm that might have been the green material that Ann noted being seen through the screener. If any questions arise in the meeting, don't hesitate to call me. So when I met with you, you'd also talked about moving that berm because of, I think there was some plastic and stuff you were trying to get rid of.
Yeah, I wanted to make this more attractive on the end, you know, behind
Yeah.
her house there, so.
Um,
There was
so-
a small section of it moved, and they were gonna make it a little bit higher.
Okay, so before you do anything with that berm, just check with Jim first in the future, just to make sure everything's copacetic and everybody knows about it, because I do believe, I wasn't here, but my understanding is there was some agreement and some orders not to add to that or disturb it. Which I know you had good intentions, and I don't think it was terribly problematic, but before you do any more work on that berm, check with Jim before you do it, and just make sure everything's okay.
Okay.
Okay?
little detail to that. You know, it's the berm that goes around the whole property, because it was the whole, you had put the berms that had the grass in it, that
Okay,
wasn't
yeah.
supposed to have the grass in it. You put them on the whole border. It wasn't just one side of your property. It was in a U shape, correct? It was on one side and then on
Pretty
another.
much running in parallel to Harwood Ave, I mean, not Harwood Ave,
Colonial?
Drive, yeah,
That was it.
yeah, it went from Colonial.
Okay.
That's
And-
my
and-
understanding from
oh,
seeing the site as well.
Okay. It didn't go, it was not around the corner. It didn't go up.
No, that was all leaves.
Okay, but you're not, but remember Martinson told you, and we ordered you not to touch it because of the composting degradation of the ingredients in that berm and the gases that it gives off, right? That's what Martinson, and that's what we had ordered
Sumner
you.
Martinson, Mr.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Mr.
yes.
Martinson, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
why don't we do this?
so-
Shelley, can we
No.
dig out any old orders and maybe have Jim go over them and come up with a procedure in
I
case you
spoke
do
to him
need?
Today, actually.
Okay.
You know, and he looked at the berm, and I showed him where they were adding to the end of the berm behind the house, you know what I
Yep.
mean? You know, for a sound and sight barrier, and he didn't have a problem with it, so.
Okay,
He
let's
didn't
do,
want us
just,
removing it, so.
yeah, just check with him before, because I know you're removing plastic and you had good intentions, and I don't think it was
Yeah.
terribly problematic, but we do have, I guess, an outstanding condition that won't be disturbed, so.
Okay.
I think we can make exceptions when it's in everybody's benefit, like removing the plastic, but just check with Jim first if you need to do any further work on that berm.
Okay.
Check with Jim, make sure the board also is aware of it.
Yeah,
Then we have no problem.
yeah. So,
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that the smell coincided, what Nicole, you were telling me, coincided with the day he was doing something on that berm.
Yeah, it was, what, yesterday? I
What
think.
Days were you
It was-
doing?
Oh, that was last week. They hadn't
Last
done
week.
anything till, I believe today.
You sent out an email Thursday, I was gone. There was a
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, so did you, so I'm just saying that I think going through that and pulling out the plastic may be causing more of a problem than the plastic even being there
Okay,
at this point.
all right.
I would just leave it alone.
All right.
well, no, I mean, there may be legitimate needs to do some work, but let's check with Jim first. So, I mean,
then
people
have-
were concerned about the plastic,
Yeah,
so.
and then have Jim check with us, so
Right.
that everyone's in
When did
agreement.
you take the plastic out of there?
That was last week.
What day?
Oh, that was probably like Wednesday, Tuesday.
Yeah, so then
I
it
think
smelled.
yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Monday
so-
through- Monday through
So we got
Wednesday.
some calls on the 8th and the 9th, so.
Yeah, that's what it would have been.
Well, it might have been. I mean, there's a temporal relationship, so that's a good reason why we want to make sure we know when this is happening, so we can correlate it with this stuff. Beyond that, what we've been working on, I'm sorry for the delay, but it's a small town and we have a volunteer board, so unfortunately, we can't move quickly. What we've been working on is, we wanted to accomplish two goals with a reporting system and a log. First thing we wanted to do is, because Jim's only one person and he has to deal with a lot of towns, we wanted board members, all of whom live in town, to be able to get there right away if there's an odor complaint, so we could verify it and talk about it, because eventually, whatever action we take, we need a consensus. So we've worked out a system, but we also wanted was a log, which takes, it's gonna be relatively simple, but it's gonna ask you guys to say, okay, it smelled on this date, it started here and it ended here, and how long it took. That means that we're going to do both of those things. You're going to need to kind of send two emails, because we've established an email system. One's real quick, it says, smells real bad right now, please get out here whenever you can, something like that. And the other is going to be a follow-up that says, it started at 4 p.m., ended at 8 p.m., smelled like, we've got some details on you. Nicole, I think I traded an email with you, and you didn't think that would be too burdensome, but that's what we were struggling with, is do we really want them to send two emails for every odor? I mean, but if you guys are okay with that, I think we do have two goals here. The log, I mean, all of it's we have two purposes here. The primary one, or at least the initial one, I wouldn't say primary one, is see if we can correlate when you guys are experiencing odors or serious odors with some of the activities, then maybe we can change the timing of the frequency of those activities so we can reduce the odor and reduce the problem. We also need to verify whether there's a nuisance there and whether it's sufficient enough for the board to take action. That'll take a little bit longer, but it all plays into the same thing, is making sure we know what's happening and we can verify all this. So that said, we have some instructions for folks that we can send out tomorrow.
Right, so they'll go out tomorrow after everybody just verifies that these are the email addresses that they want, that they'll be checking on weekends and
Yep.
whatnot. So each abutter will get their own, a separate email, and CC'd on it will be this, it's a distribution list, it's just called 2015-16 Harwood Ave. So when you have a complaint in the message line, it's just gonna say complaint, so that immediately on weekends, nights, whenever anybody sees that, they'll know it's something to respond to if they can. Then the follow-up, as Brad had described, would be the duration, the the level of the odor, and that can be done whenever, you don't have to run back to your computer all the time, but we thought instead of everybody keeping separate logs and then having to keep coming in here constantly and gathering them, you can just send the emails back to that email address. There'll be no response, because that's where we got into that whole open meeting law potential conflict thing.
Okay.
So the complaint one will come in, and the board can respond to that. They can say, I'll go out there, but it can't be any further discussion than that. All the other ones, the time, the weather conditions, all that, whatever information is provided in that, I'll just keep printing those out, putting them in the folder. Then each meeting, the board will just kind of go over the emails that have been received and start just.
And Mr. Allen, you're kind of keeping a log of what your activities
Yes,
are and what
definitely keep a
days.
log
So
of
if we
everything.
start seeing, 4 people complaining on a bad odor this time, we're gonna log that in, put it in, and compare it to what he does. So,
Okay,
So
so
no-
tomorrow, everybody will get an email, and that's gonna be the method from now on, to just do that. That goes right to Jim's phone, so
Mhm.
Jim will get it at any time. If he's in the area, he'll go out, and then the board members, as they're available, most of them are around and can get there.
but again, we can respond that we're going, but if you don't see any response, don't think we're ignoring it. It's just because of open meeting laws. It used to be, before the open meeting law, a lot of town decisions were made in the local bar. So the legislature came up with this open meeting law, which kind of swung a little bit too far on the other way, where we can't even decide on a radio station if 3 of us are in the same car. So we're not discussing it. That's why we're not ignoring you. There's some rules about that.
So can I ask a quick question? The log, can a copy of that log get sent out to the board members too, so we know what's gonna be looked at?
I'll do it for every meeting. I mean, it would take all day long for me to just keep up with these.
No, she just wants the initial log format.
I wanna know what Jim created for them to fill.
Oh, yeah,
What are they
everybody's
gonna
gonna
fill
get the
out?
same, you guys are gonna be copied on every one of the emails that goes to these. You're gonna get like 8 emails tomorrow that because each individual abutter is gonna get an
Okay.
email with this distribution list copied, and it's gonna have the instructions to what to do.
And there's a small number of
okay,
fields of data that
okay.
you wanna look at. And
Okay, so he
So
didn't
when you
create an
see all
Excel
these emails
file.
tomorrow, you're each gonna
Okay.
get one because
we may put it
got
in
it,
one, but
okay.
it's, and
Yeah.
again, we didn't want overly, I mean, there's a ton of information, like Jim picked the top things we really wanted to know because we didn't want people sitting up at night.
Oh, Okay, I just didn't know
their
what
tax
those,
returns.
I just,
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe been an Excel file or something like that. Okay,
it was getting, there was too much conflict, and that's why I have to send them out to each individual abutter, because if we send them out to all the abutters and then they even start talking
Yeah,
in
yeah,
between,
yeah.
it just gets messy. So
Sure.
each one is, so you're gonna get
okay.
like 80
So
emails
we'll see
tomorrow.
it, so we'll
that
see
say
it
the exact
tomorrow.
same thing,
We'll see
yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
documenting tomorrow.
Jim
Okay.
shared it with me, it's pretty simple, but I think we need to.
And you're also gonna respond in the same way as the abutters. You're gonna say, I went out, what
Oh,
was
okay.
da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, so should I do one for what
You
when I
can
went out
keep a
yesterday?
separate log
Let's
on
start
it.
all at the same time. I would
We're
start
gonna
once we all get
tomorrow.
it, yeah.
Okay,
So we're all.
all right.
So
Yes,
the,
ma'am.
the regulations, talk about with the initial application of the permit, everyone within a half a mile is informed of the intent to apply for a permit. So my question is, will people, like I know John across the street from us, he's not in a butter, but he does smell the smell and he's not happy with it, so I don't know,
We'd be happy to add him to this list.
okay.
As far as the permit that gave them the ability to do that, I don't believe that's the Board of Health's authority. I think that, didn't the selectmen give up that permit?
I'm just trying to figure out what guidelines that I should
But-
be asking for things for.
Essentially, the people that got the letter back in the beginning of June telling you that we were gonna be coming to this meeting was pretty much all of Richard Way and Colonial Drive.
But if people on the opposite side of Colonial Drive want to be part of this, just have them contact Shelley. I mean, we don't want people obviously at the other end of Harwood, but if they're in the
no,
immediate
I
vicinity,
understand.
certainly they, you know,
Yeah,
Gino, you know what.
But I think I had sent it out to about 12 people.
okay.
So if we missed anybody who's in the immediate vicinity, who's experienced odors and wants to participate, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, we can talk to John, see
Yeah.
if he gets it.
Is that 8 Colonial Drive?
4, I believe.
What number are you guys? 3, yeah, so there'd be an even number.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
if I just got his email, I can send it to him.
Okay.
I don't have him on this list.
Just out of procedure, how are citizens meant to engage with the Board of Health? Like, if I have questions or concerns about, like, I know my well is not 250 feet away from the composting operation, so I know that's a violation.
Right.
So how are we meant to engage with you, and like, how does this all work?
So your initial person you speak to will be Shelley.
Yeah.
And then shall we reach out to the board or Jim as appropriate? And depending on what the issue is, Jim will investigate, we'll investigate. We may have a put it on the agenda, in which case you and everybody involved will be notified, or we may try to deal with it just through Jim and resolve it that way.
So Shelley is
Shelley's
my
your point of contact for the board, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't,
I mean, you can
I-
always
I'm
contact
new.
Jim. You can,
Yeah.
but if it's something that you want the board to be aware of, if it comes to me, then I relay it out to the board. But the open meeting law violation is where if you sent it to Brad or Ann, and then a conversation starts, and then somehow 2 other members get in on it, and then it just can
Yeah,
potentially
I mean,
become.
you can email the board, but we
No,
forward
no,
everything
no,
to
no,
Shelley.
No.
Email
If we
Shelley
do
as your
that.
point of contact.
Yeah.
She will share with the board. what's
Because
necessary.
I'm not a board member, I can email all of them.
Right.
Okay.
Without
We
there
can't
being
email.
a conflict, but if they start emailing amongst themselves and there's more than 3 of them,
Yeah.
it's technically a discussion and it's an open meeting law violation.
And that's to ensure transparency. Again, I
Yeah.
think it goes a little too far, but that's
I
what
guess
it's
what I was trying to
for.
say is, it's not bad that you contact a board member, but we'll direct you to Shelley.
But it's preferable that you go to Shelley, and Shelley will involve whoever needs to be involved.
okay.
Yeah.
And as far as decisions, like Richard I think you guys met on Friday about different changes, like not doing composting operations on Friday, adding more flags and stuff like that. How do I make that official?
So Jim, I didn't do that, I stopped by and he told me some of this stuff, I wasn't there. Did you add more flags on your own accord, or did Jim ask you
No,
to?
I am adding more flags for the berm out there.
Okay, was that per Jim's request, or?
No, that's just something I thought of to be out of a courtesy, just so I can see better.
So there's-
I noticed, excuse me, but I noticed the last week or so, the direction usually goes to the wind direction is out of the west and to the east. And it's been going the opposite direction, so we've tried to stay right away from moving the leaves at all.
Yeah.
So, we're not sending any odor that way. So we are trying to make a conscious effort, and the last, month, things have slowed down by less than 50%. So in the next 3 or 4 months, there's not gonna be as much activity as in the springtime. Things die down.
Yeah, so I mean, there's certain things Jim's gonna tell them that don't rise to the level of written correspondence, but stuff that goes into an order, for instance, if we decide what we do is find a correlation between a certain activity and bad odor, and we do to change that, we will write an order to that effect, and we will, do they need to request that, or can we provide that? It'll be at a meeting, and you can get Board of Health meeting notices, so.
I mean, any email anything that I receive, written memos, emails, it's all public record. So you
Okay.
ask for it, but, Jim goes out there probably a couple times a week and just checks things out, and so I'm not always aware of every single time Jim's out there, but.
And I'm not aware of decisions that he makes.
But Jim
That
Jim
directly
gives
affects
a
my
memo to the
quality.
board for each meeting with an update of what's been going on. So that's kind of where he summarizes it all.
So
But-
do we get, are the memos public? How do we access those?
Yeah, they're public. I mean,
I'm not trying to be a pain.
No,
No, I understand.
I'm just-
if you request them, I can send them to you, but for me to try to keep up to remember to send anything to you, but, you can certainly send
Send
me
an
an
email, send
email.
it to public
You can
library
send me an
law,
email every
like
day and
request
ask
stuff,
if there's
give it
anything
time,
new,
right.
and if there is, I'll send it.
With that said, anything significant we do, so we determine that there's a certain activity and we work it out with Mr. Halloran, we'll put that in an order and we will inform the neighbors, because part of this is to get everybody communicating better. So
Yeah.
anything the board does that's a specific, action, we will let everybody on our mailing list know about that, and it'll probably be discussed at a hearing, which you'll be invited to.
Okay, because like Richard agreed not to do the composting operation on Saturdays.
Right.
And I'd like the whole neighborhood to know, so we
Okay.
can have
But
cookouts.
that's
but-
hard for us, because that's not a board decision, so what he agrees to do isn't necessarily an action we take. So you may want to start your own little internal mailing list, but that's not an action we took against him, he just agreed to do that.
Okay.
As a result of him talking to Jim, or?
I just thought it'd be a courteous thing to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's been at home for a while, and the noise and whatnot, it is Saturday, so.
Okay,
So,
I think that's great.
I work.
where we can work it out between neighbors and not get involved, I think that's
That's actually
preferable.
great. That's
But
really
but
great.
the stuff that we do, we will, any definitive action the board takes on this will be discussed at a meeting, and we're gonna
You'll be
inform you
informed.
guys, because we know it's an interest, that's why we're discussing it.
Okay,
So,
all right.
He's gonna do the best he can to
yeah.
accommodate.
But anything the neighbors do between yourselves, which I think is preferable if you can do that instead of involving the government, we don't, I didn't even know about that, but we're fine with it, so.
I just want to protect myself and my little slice of the world. That's it.
You know, but at this point, that's not a decision the board's made. We haven't forced him to do that. He's just agreed to do it. So
Okay.
that's kind of between you guys, and it seems like it's working out. So I don't think we need to get involved at this point in that part of it.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
So you had a concern about your well, which is what you voiced to me yesterday.
Yeah, so I guess I emailed Shelley.
Okay.
Okay.
Or you can say it to her right now, because she's in the same room.
Well, what I'll tell you,
Okay,
Shelley, is
right
can you
now.
have Jim meet Nicole and Mr. Halloran and maybe figure out where the well is and that
It's,
sort of thing?
Get the
Kate's
distances.
as well. So
What's
our
that?
neighbors, Kate's
Kate.
is less than 250 feet as well.
Okay, can you have Kate contact Shelley, because it would really be better to come from her, and we
Okay.
can have Jim go out there and check that out and see what the situation is.
Okay.
Because what we did last time, we did this about 2 years ago with DEP, is we did not include the area where the boundary berm is because it wasn't supposed to be touched. So when you touch in that berm, changes some of the distances, because then that berm is a
No,
non.
I intend to
a
totally
non-
leave the berm alone.
But I know,
That
but just
wasn't
hang on a
the intention.
second, so that's kind of where we're getting kind of mixed up on this. Now that that has happened, but also there's been stagnant water and runoff water that's been complained over the past year or two, whatever.
So that has to be resolved with the distances of the well from the active site to your well. And that's what you were concerned about.
To Kate's well, and have Kate contact Shelley, we'll have
All-
Jim go out there and
yeah,
check it out.
all of
Okay.
the boundary, the abutting properties to the property where the wells are.
Yeah. I think everybody else is on town water.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you,
You're welcome.
thank you. All right, sorry, we're a little bit over. We have, let's move on. We continued hearing 5 Woodland Drive. Is that you?
Yes.
Come on up. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, that's quite all right.
The next guy's not showing up, so you guys.
You just
Well-
sign in, sir? Did you sign in?
Oh, I did not.
No,
I didn't know if you were coming for Great Road.
Where do I
yes,
do that?
I am.
Is-
It's right
The
Oh,
there.
sign
okay.
is right there.
Thank you.
Anything better last night, though.
Okay, so Michael is here for Great Road.
And I know it's just discussion tonight, so.
And Bill should be up soon, because he had some input on it too, so.
Okay, yeah.
Oop, that's mine. I don't know if you have plans, I brought some extras.
I think we can share if you want. Give us a couple, so you know what to do.
Nice job, microphones for everybody.
For the record, my name is Jeff Hannaford, representing the applicant, Hoskins Realty, for a septic system upgrade at 5 Woodland Drive. Title V inspection was done, and the existing system was found to be in failure. The existing system was actually a repair, not the original system. And consists of, there's a septic tank right off the right rear corner of the house. I show that system in kind of a light gray, and there's arrows pointing to the septic tank and the leach pits, and it's labeled existing system to be abandoned. If you see that note between the property line and the north arrow, it says existing system to be abandoned, and there's 2 arrows pointing to the existing system. The existing system, when it was repaired, they took some shallow pits, put them in side by side, put some stone around it, and that was the repair.
This
When
was it right here.
when the Title V was done, the system was found to be in failure and in the water table also. The biggest problem with the site is there's a 24-inch water table, seasonal high water table. And as a matter of fact, we were out there early April, and the actual water is at 2.5 feet, so we know it's legit. And so on a small lot like this, it presents the problem of where do we put this new system? It's a 19,000 square foot lot. And with a high water table like that, if we tried to go with the 4-foot offset to water, we would have had a new finished grade of about 4 feet above existing grade. And that automatically would have put us into retaining walls, 4-sided around the leaching area. That was just something that wasn't going to be practical on this site. So I took a look at this and opened up my innovative/alternative toolbox, and what we've got here are 2 different IA-type systems. In lieu of a standard septic tank, we're proposing a microfast IA treatment tank. What that will do is it'll treat the effluent to a degree that will allow us to take a 2-foot offset reduction, a 2-foot reduction to the offset to water table, reducing it from 4 feet to 2 feet. So what that would do with a 2-foot water table would put the bottom of the leaching area at existing grade. And then the second thing I did, a conventional leach field would still require a finished grade 2 feet above that. As you can see, we have such small area to work with. In order to minimize that, I'm incorporating what they call a drip dispersal type leaching area. It's made by Perk-Wright, sold by Oakson Incorporated out of Gloucester. They have a number of systems in the area in Massachusetts. I've designed a couple of others with theirs. And what that allows is to keep the finished grade down to within 6 inches of existing grade, something much more manageable. It effectively sits on the ground. It's only 1/2-inch diameter tubing to be 2 feet above the water table. What we'll do is we'll remove the top and subsoil in the area. And as you can see, it's actually an L-shaped leaching area in order to get us the square footage needed for the leaching with this type of soil. It's designed on a 30-minute an inch perk rate, so we needed a little over 1,000 square feet of leaching. The Perk-Wright disposal system does not give you any reduction in square footage. So there's no reduction taken on the size of the leaching area. If we were doing a conventional stone and pipe type leach field, it would be the same size as this. It may not be the same configuration, but the square footage would be the same. So the IA is just buying us the offset to groundwater. There is a pump chamber. The Perk-Wright system comes with its own pump, and it also has what they call a hydraulic unit. I don't know if you're familiar with these systems, but they have their own pump. They pump it to the hydraulic unit. What the hydraulic unit does is it reduces the pressure, and it goes through a set of screens in the hydraulic unit, so that if there is any particulate matter or suspended solids from that IA system, which should be very minimal because of the way they work, there is a screening system within that hydraulic unit that removes that. It's pumped into this 1/2-inch diameter tubing, which has perforations throughout. At each perforation, there's a limiter. So instead of the effluent, even though it's under pressure, instead of it being sprayed into the ground, it drips into the ground under controlled drip. And that's what the emitter does at each of the perforations. The system is set up such that it can backwash, so those filters in the hydraulic unit, if they are being utilized, it gets backwashed and it gets recirculated back into the original IA tank to be retreated. So it's got a nice redundancy to make sure that drip dispersal tubing stays clean. The way these are installed, the installers have to be certified by Oakson that distributes the system. But because Oakson sells the system, they also work in the field with the installer. So we have the local distributor for the state of Massachusetts having a hand in the installation to make sure that the system is installed and connected correctly. So that's one of the things I do like about it as compared to other types of systems. They sell it, and it's entirely up to the installer and the engineer to figure it out. So we've had good luck with these, and I think it's the perfect solution. It may be more expensive to do this, but considering the alternative of a four-sided retaining wall and the lack of use of the backyard because of this septic system being mounted up and contained in a pad, so to speak, with retaining walls, this actually gives the people a chance to utilize their backyard again and minimizes the disruption. So the reason we're here is two things: the local upgrade approval through Title V, that 4-foot to 2-foot reduction with the IA system, as well as the setback from the dwelling, the foundation, is supposed to be 20 feet. We're at 12.5 feet. And also, because of the water table depth, we were unable to run an actual perk test. So we took a soil sample and had a sieve analysis done. And when the sieve analysis came back, it said Class 2 soil. So per the policy of DEP, we used the slowest perk rate for a Class 2 soil, which is 30 minutes an inch. Again, that's very conservative, and I think we're using probably more square footage than if we could have done the perk test in a dry time. But, so that's the third Title V local upgrade approval request, and then the local requirement of no fill within 10 feet of the property line. When I talked to Jim about that, I said, I really don't anticipate filling, but he said, you know, you will be excavating, clearing 5 feet around the leach field. We're taking that variance from 20 feet to 12.5 feet to Title V to the dwelling foundation, but we are 11 feet from the property line, so we do meet the 10-foot property line setback. But we will have to clear 5 feet around, which puts us within that 10-foot. I expect it to go back to existing grade. There may be a half a foot change in grade, but that would be the maximum. So as far as the abutting properties are concerned, this is as minimal a disruption as we could possibly do.
Jim has written the board and says he supports this.
Oh, okay.
Are there any questions from board members?
Nope.
We have a motion then.
Sure, I'll make a motion. Or John, did you want to make a motion?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for 5 Woodland Drive on the plan dated 6/12/15 to include the variance to Title V, Section 405-1B, reduction in setback distance from cellar wall from 20 feet to 12 feet. Also Title V, Section 405-1H, to reduction of offset distance from water table of 4 feet to proposed 2 feet. Also Title V, Section 405, as follows, sieve analysis in lieu of performing a percolation test for the slowest perk possible, 30 minutes an inch. And then the local regulation as follows, requirements for 27 no fill allowed within 10 feet of a property line, proposed fill be 3 feet from the property line.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
You
need
too.
this?
Did you
Should get
one
see
too.
the-
I'm gonna
some of
leave
the
two
ins and outs
with-
of the system? It's a really fascinating system. And it circulates the water. It
It's a pretty cool system.
keeps the,
It's become
Have you
really
seen one?
high-tech these days.
Gymnastics to get something
They
in
always
there.
it's
work
really,
on something new.
it's very complicated, it's very high-tech.
Oh,
You've got to
okay.
keep a pump going all the time, you know, but it allows you to have a septic system in a, like the size of this room.
Later tonight,
You know, it's
tomorrow anytime.
very.
You want to sign it now?
We can
You
sign it.
sign it now, we'll
It's
save
kind
you trip.
of, there's filters and
That'd be great.
it
And I'm,
keeps the
I'm from
effluent
Tingsboro.
circulating. So,
So you have to drive back here.
Yeah.
Give us
Actually, I
time to
have a
come.
meeting in Groton tonight at 8:30.
We'll get you there, Tom.
But I sit on the sewer commission in town, and I'd really love to talk about the open meeting law.
Yeah, yeah.
It made me think, as you were talking, boy, I must have violated it a number of times with my emails back and forth.
It's really just in contentious things, because if it's something that ever goes to court,
Oh, yeah.
they can just grab that and, you know, it's just not worth it. It's-
Yeah, you know, we use the email so much to communicate, because we're all,
Yeah.
it's a small town, everybody's busy.
We don't have signing this.
It's hard to,
So there's just a fee due to little things that we can just get.
Okey-dokey.
You signed the name?
25?
Yeah.
I may have.
Yeah?
Sorry,
Did you sign the front?
no, not yet.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to. Okay, Bill, I don't think you've signed this. Okay. I didn't know it was his permit. I thought you were just doing general permits, that's why I was,
No, we were trying to get this gentleman.
I didn't know it was his. That's why I was sitting there going, what is this?
Yes, I did get that in June.
What is Brad pushing down our way?
Yep, we're all set with that.
There's no sense making somebody come in the next day if we can all sign it now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
There you go, one-stop shopping. Next order of business is 320 to 326 Great Road. Shelley handed me some note, which I promptly misplaced, that I'm supposed to
Well, now
read.
Michael is here,
But Michael's
so-
here anyhow, and I know Bill
Okay.
wanted to discuss it, so
Okay, so 320 to 26 Great Road.
Discussion.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. So what is this?
A renewal of an existing permit that was expired?
So it expired.
Yes. Yep.
So I think Jim has some suggestions on that. He basically said, the board issued a permit for the installation of a repair system in November of 2007. The existing system is in a seasonal water table. Permits are good for 3 years, but during the economic downturn, state extended permits for additional 5 years. The
4 years.
permit for this site is now expired, and there is no mechanism in Title V for the extension of this permit. The owner would need to obtain a new permit for the installation of the sewage disposal system for this site, is what Jim is saying.
Okay, dokie.
And Matt paid for a new
So,
application?
Yeah, Matt did an application and paid the fees today, and, so I assume it just goes off the same design plan as long as it's.
Yeah, I think Jim
Yeah.
suggested the same design plan's fine, it's just another
Um,
permit application.
So I guess because this is something that, I guess is sort of time sensitive, if that permit becomes ready, they were just looking to see if the board would sign the permit outside of a meeting, you know, if I let the board know that there's a permit ready.
I wouldn't have any objection to that, would
I
anybody
can
else?
come, I can
I
sign
can
it.
easily come down and sign it. No
Only-
problem.
Yeah, I think there's a purchase and sales, and the new owners are looking to
Mhm.
close on it, and,
Okay,
You need as soon as possible.
sure.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sure.
What do you need, 3 signatures?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all.
We
Yep.
can handle that.
yeah,
So-
just 3 people, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'll-
yeah.
I'll do
I'll
it.
be around.
I just have one
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Do you have a completion date on it?
I was gonna focus on it. It's already dig saved. We have an application in for there's a small little shed area that has to be demoed, and I was hoping to be done in 2 weeks, start to finish, and then paving after that. It's got it's like the microfast system, so, I mean, there is some material that has to be removed because there was some fill in there before, so, it's gonna be trucked out, so. But it's something I'm just gonna focus on from start to finish, so.
Mhm. The only reason I'm asking, Mike, is because the system's been in failure since 2007.
Yep.
And I would just like to have the board on the permit stipulate that completion has to be by September 1st.
Definitely, you can do that, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I would just like to do that because it's
Sure.
been 7
Yep.
years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just got the plans and 3 weeks ago.
No, this isn't
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah, no, yeah,
So
So
they're the
per-
same,
Permits are good for 2 years, though, right?
Excuse me?
Permits are good for 2 years.
That's correct. but you
Right,
gotta
so-
understand,
Bill's trying to make
the
sure this
permit was
happens.
taken out-
Right.
the
It needs to
permit was
happen this
taken
time,
out in
yes.
Well, it's a
2002.
failed system.
They had a
Yes.
3-year extension.
In
because
2002?
They extended it for 2 years.
7, I
Then
think.
the state allowed two-year extensions.
Yeah.
So now it's
Like 10
starting
years.
over again.
Yep.
And I just don't
Yep.
think that that's at all unreasonable.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
So they have to
faster I get it
pay for the
done-
permit, don't they? So,
I think did Matthew pay for it?
yeah, so they have to
So
pay
they're
for
gonna
it.
do
So it's in their benefit to get it, make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Matthew today. as
Yeah,
well.
I mean,
It doesn't
you know,
permit, it's not
there-
fixed.
there's purchase and sales. It's not contingent upon the septic anyway, so they're gonna close on it anyway, so they're gonna escrow the money that, if I can't finish it in 2 weeks,
Right.
you're in trouble.
yeah, I mean, I'll have to wait until after it's done. I mean, if I can get it done before that,
Well, that's
We'll
why I
make
said
closing day.
September 1st. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
That give you a long time. So, is the plans that the original permit, those are still within code? I mean, we're not reviewing the plans again, right? Those are still fine?
Same. Because Jim
Jim okayed that.
Yeah.
He did.
So the permit,
The regulations have become less stringent
They have- okay.
since that was
The
designed.
Tom regulations. I
Okay,
mean, they weren't less
'cause-
stringent, they've
Because
been modified.
Jim's note isn't that specific to any
No, but I mean,
So
Jim,
that's why I asked.
yeah. So the Tom regulations, depending on your perspective, either became less stringent or more reasonable.
we like to think it became more reasonable because we changed them, but
There was some arbitrariness,
Yeah.
arbitrary
Yeah, okay.
elements of those
Okay.
old regs, so.
All right.
But it's a
That to
good
me was,
question,
that
yes.
to me was the part that was missing in Jim's note. Nowhere does he say,
yeah, right.
I'm good with this.
Yeah.
In
So they-
this memo.
So
And-
they're gonna
And there was a
submit,
letter sent to the owner, back in March of 2014, just letting him know that, it had been in failure and the permit expired November 5th of 2014 and could not be extended anymore beyond that, so. But then in the meantime, we found the buyer and all
Yeah.
that, so it's prompted that to do this, so.
All right. Make a motion to renew his permit.
Do a new
Can't be
permit,
no.
renewed.
to accept a new
Can't
permit.
be renewed, it
Pre-application.
has-
Bill, did you want a motion with a date on
I'd
there?
like to make a motion that the permit be signed with the stipulation that the installation will be complete by September 1.
it's only 2 months, a month.
That's okay.
That's okay? Is that
Month,
gonna
that's
work
okay.
for you?
I'll go
Do
to
you think that's reasonable?
September
very-
Is that
15th.
gonna work?
Reasonable
I
to do
was,
that?
well, I was basing that date on 2 weeks, so we're,
No, it's okay.
I'm fine with it.
Let's make it
It's already being
15.
saved, it's ready to go. As soon
Okay,
as the permit's
it's fine.
ready, I'm gonna start, so.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Why don't we give
I
it
wanna
to
see that.
15, that way you have no
Yeah.
problem.
I wanna
the
see
first,
that.
we
There's,
started with the
you know, like
first,
I gotta
leave it
get
at the
temporary
first.
fencing, there's, because it's a cut through for a lot of people off of Adams Street.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right,
we're
we
gonna,
technically need a second before we have this discussion.
This is
Yeah.
true.
Okay, I'll second that. I think that's a good idea, 'cause especially for that building in that area.
yeah, it's tight quarters
It's
on the
needed it.
inside on Adams Street.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
I
not that, it's not that
wholeheartedly
bad
second
because the
that.
grade elevation isn't that, it's not coming up a lot. It's only 6 inches, I think, so.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't get it done by the first, we're not gonna let him do it all, right?
No, no.
You're gonna have to get a new permit, I
Fie.
think, is what happens.
I was gonna ask if this is the open discussion part of the, after the motions, was
Yeah, this
what
is-
happens if it's not done completed by the first? I mean, you can't say, well, then walk away, right? So then there's just,
No, extra.
he has to come back to get the permit extended?
Do you wanna say 30 days from the date the permit's signed?
Right, I think would be appropriate.
That's good.
You know, the simple fact is, if there's no authority to do anything about it, it's really a moot question. I just put it out there as incentive to get it done.
We would like it
If
done.
it doesn't get done,
I'm all for it too, so,
you get your money quicker.
yeah, yeah, that's right. There's a closing date already set, so.
All right.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
That's
You
one of
too.
those
This was great
areas
tonight,
we
thank you.
wanted to get. Areas that just
I'll do this any night.
just needed it so bad.
Last night wasn't that bad either. Thank you.
Yeah,
See you later.
so,
All right.
and I think the plans,
We're not scheduled for the next part of the hearing for another 10 minutes, so we can go over some of the other business. The Arc Place people have given up, apparently.
Yep.
We
the
have a
what, the art place?
Arc Place,
Oh, okay.
she's given up.
That was from last
Last
time,
2 meetings,
last meeting?
last 2 meetings, basically, those are the folks where there's an issue with the contractor. They had bought the house with the understanding it had a finished basement,
Oh,
but it
the-
brought them over and we kept having a split board decision.
So
With never a full
she's
board.
not going to pursue
She's
it?
not going to pursue it,
Okay.
at least at this time, according to her attorney. On the tobacco regulations, apparently, what's the woman's name, Joan?
Joan?
Joan has had some health issues, so she basically said she's been out, and she'll make it a priority on July 21st when she returns, so we should be voting on that. And I guess August or September, I would think we'd be able to do that, so we'll have to put that out to hearing in that hearing.
So that's the draft that we had given her feedback on, and she's gonna make the
Well, it's-
corrections, and she's gonna give it to us as the final.
And then we vote on that and post a hearing and that sort of thing.
Okay,
I do see that Acton is getting a medical marijuana facility as well, or trying to, so we're gonna be surrounded.
No, wait a minute.
It's all right.
If they get it, we don't get it.
well, we've got nice little regs in place. We should, right? We voted them in,
We have those in place, I believe.
right? Were they printed?
They didn't say, but this one's, I mean, I know that Air's being approved. Air, I believe, has been
It's
approved.
right across from Jim.
And Air has been,
It's right
it'll
across.
be a lot
from
easier to
Jim.
work with after.
All right, easy.
No, Jim's easy to work with, I just couldn't resist.
Be a lot easier.
Maybe he's thinking it'll be easier for him too.
And then, but I heard on the news the other day, Air is actually, I mean, there's one proposed for Acton, but I think they provide directly to patients.
Medical.
No, it's all medical, but this one's, I mean, I think it's cancer patients and not necessarily just permits from their doctors, but they work specifically with physicians, a little bit different model, so.
So did our medical, sorry to interject.
They haven't been put in the paper yet, but the date that you approve of is the date. It
Just
just,
there, okay.
town council has to look them over still.
Anything else for us for the next 5 minutes? or-
Yeah, a couple things. So we talked about so everybody got the letter, we talked about that, the Vitasoy thing in Air. This was another email that might want to just be read. Maybe, I don't know if you want to read it out loud, I printed it for everybody. Just sort of, I guess, informing, what's this? Not really sure what it meant, so I forwarded it to Jim, but just,
I'll read it. It's from Shirley Samhain. My name is Shirley Samhain. I live next door to 261-257.
Goldsmith.
I've contacted you before about the hoarding situation at 261 Goldsmith. I noticed some visitors yesterday at 261 Goldsmith. The two women looked like they were on official business. I know you have an appointed hoarding department now. Don't know if they were from the town or not, but for some reason Rosemary left her car down the street at her friend's house and walked home. After the two women left, she went and got her car. FYI. I don't think we need to involve ourselves in this one.
Well, actually, okay, so this is 261 Goldsmith Street, which we have taken to court for hoarding, which we all decided a
It's the
few meetings
correspondence
ago
with it.
that, you know what, she's slowly cleaning it up, it's not top on the radar.
Well, regardless,
We're gonna be looking at
specific to
it.
this email, there's nothing in here that we
Yeah.
need to take action on.
So, right, so that's just where that's coming from, that's 261 Goldsmith.
so the correspondence
We
list
don't
is
have a
just
hoarding department.
sort of everything that's come in. I didn't make copies of it but I have them all here. And
Okay.
anything of any interest to anyone.
We do have a hoarding
I did
task
start
force.
the sheet for the septic survey and,
So how many we have?
What's the Crane Road runoff?
2, 3,
oh, so
6, 7, 8.
that's a system that was put
We
in
got 12.
about a year ago, and
12.
and they had to post a bond, I think, with the highway department, and apparently they're having an issue with, it's not correct. So apparently he's sent it off to the contractor a couple times and wasn't getting a response, so he sent it out to the board and to the building department, just so they're aware that.
Well, as long as we have a couple minutes, we did have an issue during the winter where they were piling snow up behind the police station, and we had a neighbor concern about that. It didn't seem to be anything that was particularly troublesome about that, but it did raise an issue. I researched it a little bit, and, you know, there are some minor issues with chemicals and from the roadway and that sort of thing. But it did seem like something we may want to ask some of the other town boards, conservation, the highway department, and the water department, to coordinate on with us a little bit to make sure we pick the best site. In the unlikely event we have to pile that much snow up again in the coming winter. I did notice that the Boston snow pile just melted yesterday, so.
Yeah, I heard that announcement.
Yeah, so I don't know, how would we best do that? Do you want me to draft something? Do you want to just shoot a
Yeah,
note?
if you just sort of draft something up about that you had gone out, who you had been contacted by, you went out, you know, around what date,
Yeah.
and then I can forward it to highway, conservation, police, and,
Yeah.
you know, kind of.
And they probably put it in a perfectly fine location, but it makes sense to me that the board will at least talk about it, and we all agree that's a perfectly fine location.
Okay, so it was just sort of done without really
I think
everyone
the highway
talking about
department
it, or
probably had
what
some
were
internal
you?
discussions, and they were probably appropriate, but I mean, there's issues with wells, there's issues with wetlands, there's, you know.
Chemicals, like you
and
said.
chemicals, and basically, the bigger
Yeah.
use with the wetlands is probably the biggest one with the runoff and the stream scouring when it melts
Okay.
quickly. The neighbors had a concern, which I responded to. They never responded back, and their houses are for sale, so I don't know what that means, but they didn't get back to me. But it does seem like something we may want to think about between several town agencies, because there's some relevant
Okay.
issues there.
All right. Can I just make a comment about the quick email that we don't really need to respond to? We don't have a hoarding department, but we have a hoarding task force. And it's sort of a joint of some Neshoba staff, and I was on it when they met last year, and it's just sort of a think tank to sort of help everybody get through some of these tough
But it doesn't deal with
properties.
specific situations, does it, or is it more a general approach?
No, it does.
Oh, it does,
It
okay.
does, yeah, they'll take on and deal with. so.
Okay,
So I think she was trying to be helpful.
okay. Okay. We have a few minutes, but is everyone's... What's that? Send the permits around.
And the
Anybody
permit.
sign? Anybody sign there?
We have a sign-in sheet, if you could.
Is that yours or mine? That's yours. And is this yours or mine?
That's yours.
Okay.
Chris, sign for all of us.
What are these about?
I have no idea. I don't know what they're for. Let me see if I can find out even what it looks like. Brad,
Yep.
what are these for? Do you know what these are about?
No.
Those were on the table, I don't know.
Looks like a
Oh, it
mosquito
must have
control
been
situation to me.
From
but-
another meeting.
Can I see that?
We got more. They're coming from.
Nice double K.
Just curious.
There you go.
Larry, you're on.
Someone didn't sign this. Did you
What are
sign this,
getting
John?
it? How many we got? Right there.
Okay. Oh, Gino didn't sign this. No, Gino did.
Not a house, huh?
Some of these signatures, you know, you can't read.
You're not supposed to be able to read a signature. You're supposed to be able to recognize a signature.
I don't know if they could do either.
Greek finance, no.
Oak Hill. Oak Hill, Oak Hill.
Mine is probably the most legible, besides John's.
Greenway.
John's is pretty good.
Mine's very recognizable because of the second suffix.
But you can also read John. I can read John. I can't really read
The Davis gets a bit.
the last. That's okay.
A lot of permits.
I'm gonna start putting a second behind my name. But they're not gonna know who it is who's signing these things.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock. I think we can begin the hearing for 30 Fort Pond Road. Fort Pond Road. Is somebody presenting? Come on up.
Mr. Ritchie,
Good evening.
how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Bill and Rosemary Morrison, the owners of 30 Fort Pond Hill Road. They're currently in the process of selling their home. Had a Title V inspection done, failed the Title V inspection, and basically designed them a replacement septic system. So they're kind of up the top of Fort Pond Hill Road. Nagog Pond is way down the back here. The house up here on the road's on town water. Existing system here behind the house. Existing septic tank, plumbing comes out under the slab, across the driveway. The backyard's relatively flat, area here. Then it slopes down, drops down probably 2 or 3 feet. There's a little bit of a depression, then it continues on down the hill. So we had groundwater around 2.5 feet. We dug 3 test holes. Basically went down, we got the flat area, so we went down to the lower area. We knew the groundwater was gonna be high, the system would be elevated. So rather than putting it back in the area of the existing system and elevating the backyard up to make it unusable, we went down where it was a little bit lower. Dug the test holes there, in the groundwater at 2.5 feet. It was too wet to run a perk. So we are requesting to use a sieve analysis. Basically, we use the Presby because of the slope. We're using the Presby so that we can kind of follow the contour of the land. The Presby has been approved for a 2-foot reduction in the groundwater offset. Again, so another reason to use it, and then it allows for a little bit smaller of a footprint. So we're basically asking for the board's approval to use the Presby with the 2-foot groundwater reduction. We're asking to use the sieve analysis rather than an actual perk test. I don't know if it would ever dries up enough out here to probably get a perk. And then we get fill within 10 feet of the lot lines.
Any questions from board members? Jim Garaffi's reviewed it. I'll read what he said. The sewage disposal, this is 34 Pond Hill Road. Sewage disposal system for this site is in failure. The leaching area is in the water table. Testing was done and the designer submitted a plan for the replacement of the system. The site conditions make it difficult to design a system in full compliance. High seasonal water table, high perk rate, and a narrow lot. In order to keep the fill on the lot, the designer is requesting a reduction of the groundwater elevation and the use of a poly barrier. Given the houses in the area are served by town water, I don't have a problem with the request. Can you explain the poly barrier?
So basically, anytime you have a system, you have minimum breakout requirements. Basically, you're supposed to go out 15 feet level from the top of the system and then slope off at a 3-to-1 slope. So in some areas, you see retaining walls, you run out that 15 feet and you're either off the lot or that's generally when you see them in the lake area. You come out, I don't know, not too far and you're in the lot line, so you need something to stop the fill.
Right.
So you'd put a retaining wall. The poly liner is, you go out, in this case, the poly liner varies. At the closest point, it's 5 feet off the system, and then it goes out to 15. So basically, the system, we can't extend the fill out 15 feet before we start the slope. So where we start the slope, we basically put a poly liner so the liquid cannot leak out beyond that point. We direct it straight down. So along this one edge here, the corner here, we have a poly liner buried. They're buried in the ground. They're below grade, so you don't necessarily, you wouldn't see them, but they basically, in theory, keep the sewage from leaking out horizontally.
If it is gonna even leak out.
Right. You probably won't get, odds of it getting that far are
Very slim.
pretty, very slim, more than slim, yeah.
So can you point again which boundary it's gonna have, the poly barrier is gonna have?
Yeah, so the one,
Where is
this,
it?
here's the poly liners here.
Okay, I can't see, oh, I see it, yep.
Okay, yeah.
I have a very
Okay, you do have
small-
a little plan, okay.
Very small plan, okay, I see it. Okay,
So you can see it, it's right on the edge of the 5-foot over dig at one point, and then it runs parallel to the lot line, but the system runs parallel to the slope, so they're
okay, and then,
diagonal to each other.
after you get to the toe of the slope,
Yeah.
before you even deal with any breakout going towards Fort Pond, how many yards is it to Fort Pond? How many feet? Is it 365, is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, so the, that whole length of the lot is 365 feet on that short side.
Okay, all right, so it's a good 300.
Probably 300 feet to the
At
lake.
least 300 feet to
That's
the
pretty
lake.
good.
That's why you
Okay.
put the leach field right there,
Yes.
Okay.
long pipe. Look like a mile pipe. My God.
So the Presby, it is vented.
It's
So
74.
It's part of the design is the Presbys are required to be vented.
Yeah.
So they gotta have a 10-foot differential. And basically, we put the vent at the bottom of the slope. They give it to try to, rather than having one 10 feet in the air, we can basically have 2, 3 feet in the air, just and use the differential to land.
So it doesn't have to be so tall.
Right.
So the variances, you're looking for 10 feet, fill within 10 feet of the lot line, sieve analysis, and 2-foot offset?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are those the abutters? You have to ask if they are the abutter.
Are you guys the abutters, or are you the
Yeah.
property owner?
Basically, I'm an immediate abutter. I've been on the hill for 76 years now,
Okay.
in 2 weeks. And, I'm very familiar with that piece of property. And one of the questions that I had was a sieve analysis versus a perk test. And it's all glacial till up there. I don't know if this gentleman was on the crowbar that day or not, but whoever was on the crowbar that day can tell you what that soil was like. And I'm just a little bit concerned about, not from my perspective, but the future owner, as far as potentially what's the elevation of the bottom? I got one of these small plans where you can't read anything, like Ann's got. But what's the elevation of the bottom of the septic area in comparison to original grade? Is it like 3 feet below original grade, or?
It's basically the bottom of the system set at original grade.
The bottom of the system is at original grade?
Yes.
How thick is the system
The system's roughly 2.5 feet thick.
in the pipe? What's the outside diameter of the pipe?
The diameter of the Presby pipe's a foot.
Okay, I thought I saw it a little.
And you use the Presby so you can mimic the existing contours, right?
Right, because a conventional system's basically laid level,
Right.
so on a slope, they become
Yeah.
difficult to grade out.
Yeah. I guess my
The Presby, it
concern-
does, it just basically allows you to follow that slope consistent at the
I'm
same.
gonna put any wall in
Grade.
there.
So you all live
I live
uphill,
immediately-
downhill, or?
Downhill.
You live just
Bill
downhill?
lives uphill, I live downhill.
Okay.
And as I say, it's been in the family forever, and I've done some work with the town in regards to that land and trying to do perk tests and stuff. And the water table's right at the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So the concern I had, if we're digging this system in to any degree, the first rain you have, it's gonna fill up full of water. Because it's gonna come right, because you might wanna call it sandy loam, but it's glacial till. And it's gonna, a lot of clay in it, it's gonna run right down the surface and then drop in to whatever depression you have excavated and fill right up to the ground level. So as long as your system is above original grade, that'll probably, I don't know how it perks off, but it's gonna,
Yeah.
it'll perk off on the surface anyway. I was concerned if it was below grade, it would literally flood as the existing system right now is being flooded, with groundwater, because it's all glacial till out there.
So the estimated high water here is 24 inches, right, Richie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you go out there on a rainy day, as I
So
say.
it
we
was
did
consistent
that.
in all 3 holes, it was at
Yeah,
24
and that's
inches.
consistent throughout Littleton. There's a lot of
Yeah.
thatness going around, and we have to deal with that in terms of plans, in terms of what is the best innovative alternative system that's gonna help, so, but this is gonna be above, and it
Yeah,
has
so-
to be,
so
because
this
he's
is
gotta
gonna be
use the
sitting on
2 feet.
surface, Right.
He's gonna use the 2 feet
Right.
for the biology. So that's good. And Presby doesn't require the 3 to 4 feet.
That's correct.
You can reduce it down to 2 feet. So that's why he's probably chosen Presby, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so it sounds like he's dealing with it the best possible way in terms of the choice, in terms of, but I understand your concern. I mean, that's,
I've been
yeah,
living
I
there, I know
understand.
what that condition is out there, and just a little rain we had the other day.
Yeah.
It fills right up.
It's all sponge,
Yeah.
and it just runs off the top, it doesn't percolate, it just runs. So
Mhm.
when this thing,
So
but
the
as
best,
long as that system will work, I've never seen that type of a pipe system before,
Right.
so if that does the job and keeps the runoff to a minimum,
I think it's the best one for this condition.
yeah, I mean, this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's superior to the existing system.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the existing
Bet on that
system-
one.
Yeah, the existing system does one side, not the other. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Presby's pretty good. I mean, it's been around for a while, what, 15, 20
Probably 15 years or so in
15 years,
Massachusetts.
and it's,
You gotta pump them out every year.
it's great because what
I've
you
got
can
one
actually
that-
do is reduce the size of the
Yeah. of the field,
system,
yeah.
but also you decrease
Get that.
The offset.
the depth
So
to
you don't have to dig.
groundwater.
Yeah, no, from an appearance perspective, it's great. I mean, literally in the backyard of my house, but,
Yeah.
backyard of, this is new house, but the thing is, that, you know, it'll minimize the visual impact, and that which was great, because we all were curious to say, oh, well, I'll have a heliport back there. So,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does keep you as far away from that groundwater as you can be.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and he's got the poly barrier in there as just in case
yeah.
it does have a lot of rain or whatever, but you've designed the poly barrier just as,
Strictly for breakout requirements.
just for breakout.
Right.
It doesn't, there is, it's not gonna be
We
used.
prefer not to have one, but.
Right, and it preferred also not to really even, you know, they don't rely on it in the calculations. So it's just a
It's backup.
last resort
Cheap
backup,
insurance.
so.
But the best thing to do for you, follow his recommendation and have it, dig it out, put the septic system in, cover it that way in case it rains. You know, in New England, today is nice, tomorrow it may rain.
You know, the quicker they put these together, the better they
That's
will.
it. Put it together so
the
that
longer
way
they
you
last.
have no floods and no problem.
It's all down
Take a
on the
bit-
house anyway,
yeah,
so
take-
we're not gonna have any floods
Yeah,
uphill. but-
right, but take advantage of the good weather. They can do that in one day. I did it.
Do you have any more questions, sir?
Good man. No, that's the only one I had.
Well, we thank you for your concern.
Mm-hmm.
Any more board discussion or questions?
I'm good.
Do we have a motion?
Bill, you wanna make a motion
Right, a
today?
plan.
The motion. There's the variances right there.
I would like to make a motion that the board approve the plan for 30 Fort Pond Hill Road sewage disposal system with the following variances.
You have to give
A
the date,
request,
date of the plan.
where's the date on
It'd
this?
be on the plan right there, that little box.
That's what I'm looking
Gotta
for.
see it, too small.
6/22,
Yeah.
plan dated 6/22/2015, variance for reduction in the requisite groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet. Approval to allow the use of a sieve analysis rather than requisite percolation test, and a variance to allow fill to meet minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of the property line.
Got it. Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. There's tough lots over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd think with all the space there wouldn't be, but they're. the way
It's
they're
so
configured,
narrow,
yeah.
the water table doesn't help them any.
All right, we're almost on time. We've caught up. So 8:10, we're supposed to have 16 Boxborough Road, Civil Solutions.
Yep.
Is that you again?
Me again, yeah.
And, oh, there we go.
16, right
Okay.
here.
Okay, tell us about this one.
So this one's over on Boxborough Road. There's quite a bit of ledge over on Boxborough Road generally. It's another site with some high groundwater. Let's see, so this system here, the backyard's been filled in, so it's kind of artificially lowered the water table a couple of feet because of the addition of the fill on top of the natural ground. This particular house has got a well, served by a well in the front yard. The whole lot kind of slopes from Boxborough Road down to the house, and then the backyard's kind of flat, and it slopes off again. So we dug, I guess the existing system is probably in the groundwater. We dug 3 holes in the backyard. The second hole, we had refusal, we didn't have it, we had some subsoil, and that was it, and we were into the rock, so there wasn't enough natural soil there to actually place a system in that area. The other 2 holes had some decent depth. The percolation rate is better than we'd hoped. It was 2 minutes an inch. So it was a pretty sandy material. It's a walkout in the back. So this one, they were basically proposing, again, the Presby for the groundwater offset, this time from 5 feet to 3 feet. So we are asking for approval to reduce it by 2 feet.
Could you take a second and just, we have some new board member, and
Sure.
just explain why the difference, why it's not from 4 to 2 feet with this situation, it's actually 5 to 3
Yep.
feet.
Thank you for that, that was gonna be a question.
So basically, when anyone puts in a new septic system, you gotta the first step is to come out and dig some test holes.
Right, yep.
So we're basically looking to see what kind of soil's there. Is there soil there?
If it perks.
If it perks, and where is the water table?
Yep.
So in this case, we dug 3 holes. The second hole in the back here, we dug down, we had 3 feet of fill, so we went through this fill, which doesn't really account for any, it doesn't help you as far as the amount of soil on a site. You cannot fill a site in to create soil.
Okay.
It's gotta be natural. So we had 3 feet of fill, and then 2 more feet of topsoil and subsoil. So at a bare bone minimum, you have to have at least 2 feet of perkable soil. You can use the subsoil for that, but we had 1.5 of soil in the soil log for number 2. So that no matter what kind of system you use, you're kind of out of luck on that hole. If you have 2 feet of soil, then for repairs only, you can use different kinds of alternative systems, which will allow you to reduce the amount of soil. So you'll probably see people with either high groundwater, fast perks, or no soil, ledgy lots. If there's an existing house, they'll be in with something a little more unique. The Presby allows for a 2-foot reduction in the groundwater, or for 2 feet of soil. So that's part of it, is how much soil do you have.
Right.
Then you run a perk test. So there's some lots, they're all sand and gravel, up a New Estate Road. Everything up there is all sand and gravel. You dig a hole,
You don't have no problem.
there's no problems up there. You get over to in the lake area, the groundwater's high, and then there's some ledge over there. So you've got your deep hole, which describes what you have for layers of soil, how much soil, where the water table is. Then your second part of the soil testing is to run a percolation test. It's basically you're digging a hole by hand in the natural soil, putting water in it, soaking it for 15 minutes, letting the soil swell up, and then
See how long it takes.
see how long it takes to go away.
right.
So like New Estate, the sand, you dump the water and you can't fill the hole up. It just goes out as fast as you can.
It's good like that.
Yeah, the areas where it's clay, you put the water in and you never need any more.
And you'll sit there and
So obviously, there's a big difference.
So I get all that, I guess the question is,
Yeah.
we've seen
So let
offsets
me,
from 4 to 2 feet, why is this 5 to 3 feet?
He's
so let me give you one more thing.
He's
Okay,
answering your
all right.
question.
So,
It's all part of it.
in the soils where you dump the water in and you can't keep it in the hole, well, basically, it moves through the soil very fast, and you'd have a percolation rate of 2 minutes an inch or less. In those soils, you're required to have a 5-foot offset from the bottom of the system to the groundwater table.
Okay,
In the
Because it
tighter
moves so
soils,
fast.
you're allowed to have a 4-foot offset.
okay.
So that's why, on this one, it perked at 2. So the soil was too sandy. It doesn't allow the soil to filter the effluent well enough. So they give you an extra foot of separation.
Because you want the biology to take place. You don't want it to be like a fire
You don't
hose.
right, just zip right through and have no time to do its
Right.
thing.
Okay,
So if you want to build a house, make sure there is no ledge.
Or you're on a sewer.
yeah, you're on
I know you want the sewer.
Yeah, I was out there with you guys that day that we
Yeah.
did the deep hole testing. That was really interesting.
So there's a little, I mean, some of them are very straightforward, and some, like this one, they're all the holes are a little different.
Yeah, that was weird because of
In this case,
the septic system.
if this lot had not been filled in, the groundwater would have been probably at, probably 2 to 3 feet higher than where we have it. So if the groundwater's at 2 feet originally, and you throw 2 feet of soil on top of it, now it's at 4 feet.
Yeah.
So that's basically what's the only thing that's helping this particular lot. But even though you throw the fill on there, you still have to have the natural soil underneath in order to be able to build on it.
So this is a 4-bedroom, huh?
This is 4-bedroom, yeah.
Big lot too. Big lot.
So on this one, we're using the 2-compartment tank. We still need a pump. just because it's not building up the backyard that much, but there's enough of a differential. The system's close enough to the ground surface that it won't make it by gravity. So we've got a pump, but we are asking to reduce the groundwater offset by that 2 feet, again, with the use of the Presby.
For four bedroom, what is the 2,000 gallon?
Actually, the 1,500 gallon tank's still okay.
Still okay, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Any other questions or discussion?
Nope.
We have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept the plans for 16 Bucksboro Road, Littleton, Massachusetts. And I've got an undated thing in front of me. Nope, June 30th, 2015, with the,
You can read that, you're better than I am.
Yeah.
the Board of Health reduction of
read it.
groundwater, the Title
Older than you.
V offset of from 5 feet to 3 feet using the Presby system.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give you one more tidbit on this one.
Yeah.
Maybe I should keep my mouth shut, but.
You already got
No,
approved.
go ahead.
So this was the Presby. The last one that I had was, the big advantage to using the Presby on that site was it was sloping.
Yeah.
So we could follow the contours on the land. This Presby's all laid at the same, they're all level.
Huh.
So it's flat. But the reason we used it here was, one, there wasn't a lot of soil, and two, we wanted to,
It's a fast perk rate.
reduce the groundwater offset. Otherwise, it would have been higher than the back door. It would have blocked the water coming around the house, flowing through the yard, so.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
All right, thank you.
thank you, Kevin.
Welcome.
Do we have any other business? Shelley, anything we need to deal with?
Permits and one bill for you to sign.
So you guys had a pretty rowdy
Hey,
meeting
what are you
last
getting
time.
at?
Oh, that was fun.
I missed a rowdy one.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have one the next time. That's something I wanna bring up for other business.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, the
Because
guy
the,
approved to
Ernest-
pay.
So Shelley, what's this for? Nursing service and environmental service? Is that
Yeah,
Jim?
that's to show this quarterly bill.
Okay.
Nah, don't pay him.
Oh. Get,
So, we do have that letter from town council I mentioned before. I do think if we're gonna write an order on the outside of the building,
Yep,
we should probably invite Mr. Ness along
yep.
to be there.
and then you're gonna sue you in the federal court.
I
I
know, but-
understand that the selectmen will,
Well, I can't, I don't know if he's gonna sue us in federal court or he's gonna work with the town. He was making
never
conflicting
know.
claims there.
Never
But we
know.
should invite him to that one. We should be prepared to write that order, I think,
yeah.
for the next
But
meeting.
we also should invite him so he knows.
Yeah, I mean, he does.
So,
Alright.
so we need to have a site visit, and then we need to write the order.
Do we need a site visit?
Yeah, yeah, we do. Not all of us, but at least Jim.
Has Jim done it?
So we
I
just
have an
need-
update on this, but it's not on the agenda, so.
Well,
I'd
that was
like
the other thing I wanted to know is, do we know who the owner of record is? You had asked that as well.
Bank.
I'd like to have this put on the agenda for the next meeting
Yeah.
Okay.
For what?
for 1115 Taylor Street,
Okay, to do what?
to discuss what you want to discuss now, basically.
Okay, but that's what I just said. For the next one, we need an order. We should invite Mr. Ness there, but.
Ernest, it's
Yeah.
Ernest.
Yeah.
just for the
Write
record.
him a note
Yep.
or something.
Yeah, so we
But
need to.
we have an intention, I believe, to order the exterior of that remediated.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the first thing is what I understood from the letter from Tom Harrington Shelley was we have to have a site visit to,
This picture for.
need to ask Jim to do the site visit for the personal effects.
Perform another inspection of property to confirm that dwelling has not been brought into compliance with the code.
Yep. Yep, this-
Authorized to do it. The owner may consent to the entry by the board's agent for inspection. However, if the owner does not consent, the board may seek administrative inspection warrant.
Right.
So we need to contact Mr. Ness to see if he'll allow us. If he doesn't, we need a warrant.
And then we can double up, and they said that we can do it at the same time, also do the one for the personal effects in the property.
Well, that's what we're talking about. We've already satisfied, as I understand from the letter, what we need to do for the demolition.
Well, we need to review,
It's the
since it's been so long, we need to go back and say, aha, yes, it's not in compliance.
That's not what I read in the letter.
Yeah.
the cleaning
It
up,
doesn't hurt to do it, but
Oh,
the
oh,
building
hang on.
itself, the demolition,
I don't have, okay, I have it with me on here.
the cleaning up of the exterior is an entirely different issue.
I think we,
Right.
if I read the letter correctly,
We
And
need to
that's
look at-
correct. That's the public nuisance part of the whole situation.
Got it?
We can, we can legally, well,
Well, it seems like the town already appropriated $34,000. They're gonna figure out how to get that money back, but they, according to the attorney, they get it from the bank probably.
well,
Okay.
like I said, I have an update on it, and I'd like to wait until the next meeting before
Okay.
we discuss it.
okay, let's put
Okay.
it on the agenda, but I do think we should explore what we need to do the personal property and the exterior of the building.
Yeah, and again, as I think I remember, oh, John, can I just borrow this from
Yeah,
you
go
for a
ahead.
second? Yep. Okay,
Mr.
so,
Chairman?
so what, what I understood,
He's done with inspections.
what I understood that we could do at the same time from talking to Jim is we can, at the same time, we need to, oh, this is the older one. We can look at the property to confirm that it is, he has not made the progress he's needed for the demolition piece of it, and look at the outside personal effects. We can do one site visit to handle both of those, because what I understood from the letter from the attorney was that we have to confirm, because it's been over a year, we have to confirm that the situation hasn't changed for the demolition piece.
Okay.
That's, so we can look into that, but I gotta find it in my notes first.
Nope, that's for Shelley. So, in any case, why don't we have Jim confirm both? I think we're actually okay in the demolition, but it wouldn't hurt to confirm it. It's the same site visit.
Yeah, I
So-
think we have to do a confirmation, as a detail, just a
We
detail.
can,
Yeah, right there it does. It says,
It says right here, since it's been more than a year,
Yeah.
perform another inspection to
Okay.
confirm the development,
Okay.
the wellhead has not been brought into compliance.
yeah, so we
So
can
let's
do,
talk to Jim and see if he can do that before the next meeting, and if he can, let's put that on the agenda. If he can't, we'll put it off, because it seems like we should go into the next meeting with that inspection.
let's make a motion to have him do that. I'd like to make a motion.
can I,
We don't need to make a motion?
because it's
Not on the agenda.
Okay, all right.
we,
I don't think we need a motion to do that
We don't need a
anyway.
motion for him to, I think we did.
No, we're not taking any action against anybody. We're asking our agent to act within our authority. I don't think
Right,
that
so
would
that doesn't
require a
mean-
motion.
I've already
Okay.
made that motion. at the-
Okay,
we can make a site visit
yes,
with the building inspector. He has
yes.
the authority to go on the property at any time.
Right.
So we're not gonna need a warrant.
Well, let's check with council, because the building inspector has one set of authority and we have another.
Yeah.
So I do think we ought to check with Harrington on that. I
Yeah,
hope you're right, and I prefer that,
Better
but
be
Harrington was
safe.
fairly
does-
clear.
No,
It does
Harrington
say, it
says-
does say the owner may consent to entry by the board's agent. However, if the owner does not, the board may seek
Yeah,
an administrative
we have to get
inspection warrant.
consent.
So,
We have to get consent
well,
somehow.
we consent to a warrant,
Right.
because I think Roland can do certain things under his authority, and we can do certain things under ours, and I don't think we can mix and match.
Right, exactly.
We're
So
not
we need to do
doing
that.
anything other than,
Actually, we're
Going on
confirming
the
things that are
property.
steps necessary for us to take this action. So
That's
we're
right.
gonna need to follow the proper procedure. If the attorney says you're right, but my understanding is he's laid this out, and I'm taking the attorney's word for this, we need to follow certain steps and follow certain procedures in following those steps. So we're gonna confirm this with the intention of demolishing the property and removal of that personal property, then we either need permission or a warrant. If we can check with council and he says that we can operate under Roland's authority, that's fine, but I think Roland has curtilage authority under a different set of rules and for different purposes than we do. I think it would be a misuse of his authority.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, and I think we should just
I'll
set
bow
up
to
a
whatever
site
council
visit.
says, but right now he's saying we've got two options for getting in there to accomplish these goals.
So let's set up a site visit. We can do that. We have to have a, you know,
You guys have to stop talking about this. You're
Okay.
talking too much. It's beyond the state. It's not on the agenda.
Should we why don't we put the planning of this on the agenda for the next meeting and perhaps ask council to come? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Don't want any of
so let's put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
We'll have this discussion in the next meeting. If we could ask council to participate. We should invite Mr. Ernest.
Well, I would like to go on the site visit, if possible.
Let's bring that up for the next meeting. Any other business?
Oh.
Make a motion to adjourn.
second,
All in favor?
I
It's always the most resounding